Research tells us that a messy space actually spikes your cortisol. That stress is one of the biggest items on the bill you are already paying for clutter. But what nobody talks about are the tiny, invisible ways that you are paying for a messy space every day. In this video, I uncover 4 hidden everyday costs that clutter is quietly charging you, backed by science, plus one mindset shift that will finally help you let go of stuff you've never been able to. First, let's actually see the bill, because somewhere along the way we started paying for this without even knowing. So let's itemize it. Item 1, amnesia with a side of Amazon Prime. So tell me if this is familiar. You're 3 clicks into checkout. You're gonna buy a phone case. You know the one that's pink with that little ring at the back? You own this exact phone case. You know you do. You bought it 4 months ago for this exact reason. It's lying somewhere. And yet, here you are at 11:47 p.m. buying it again like a woman with no memory and a saved card on file. Clearly, this is not a one-time thing. It's like the 3rd pair of nail clippers that you ordered because the first 2 were doing whatever they do in an alternate universe full of nail clippers. Speaking of, where are my nail clippers? It's like the tape you bought when you couldn't find tape and then you found 3 rolls of the same tape in a random forgotten drawer. This happens to all of us. But here's what's really happening. When you can't find what you own, you shop as if you own nothing. A 2016 study in the Journal of Environmental Psychology actually measured this across 1,300 adults and found it was a consistent pattern. Buying things you already own because you can't find the original. They actually did a study for this. So clutter isn't just taking up space in your home, it's also showing up in your bank statement. Let's add it to the ledger. Let's call it convenience, paid for twice. And that's just about the money. The next cost that you pay for clutter isn't about your wallet. It's about something that you use every single day and never even think about until you've run out of it. Item 2, decision paralysis with the side of, I have nothing to wear. Imagine this. You're standing in front of your closet. 20-something shirts, a coat for every kind of season, even the ones between the seasons, shoes you forgot you ever owned, and yet you're saying out loud to no one in particular, I have nothing to wear. It is the most universally understood lie in the English language. Every woman has said it. I think I've said it twice this week. Here's what's actually happening. Think of your ability to make decisions like a battery. Every choice you make drains this battery a little, whether it's about taking a big work call or about deciding what to have for lunch. When your space is cluttered, it creates tiny background decisions. Every pile you see, everything that's out of place, every little I'll deal with this later is quietly draining your battery in the background. By the time you open and reach your stuffed closet, your battery is already lower than it should be. You aren't failing to pick an outfit, you're just running on empty. And this decision paralysis hits harder for some people than for others. Researchers found that people who are prone to hesitation get significantly more paralyzed by clutter. So clutter doesn't create indecision from scratch. It finds a tendency you already have, like indecision, and charges it more. So let's add this to the ledger of the cost of clutter too. Let's call this one an outfit that took 11 minutes not to pick. So far we have money, mental energy. But this next one is actually the most socially invisible and the most quietly painful. Item 3, isolation with a side of, let's just meet at the cafe instead. So your friend texts, she says, I'm in the area, can I swing by in 20? And before you've even typed back, you're already moving. Sweeping the counter into a laundry basket, stuffing the basket into a closet that doesn't even close properly, fluffing a cushion over a thing that you have no time to deal with. By the time she rings the bell, you've performed an entire renovation in 20 minutes and you open the door slightly out of breath like you've just ran a small secret marathon. But it's not just the scramble, it's what's shifting underneath it. Before you even realize, your default is, hey, let's just meet at the cafe instead. Suddenly you don't invite people as often anymore, not because you don't want them over, but because you feel like your house isn't ready, and somehow it never is ready. That same research that I mentioned has a special category for this social cost of clutter. In that study, several people actually agreed with this exact statement. I avoid having people come to my home because of clutter. It was common enough that researchers actually made it a measurable dimension in the study. So let's add this to the ledger too. Line item, the dinner party you never threw. Item 4, guilt with the side of outgrown childhood values. So there's this t-shirt I have. It's a Pink Floyd t-shirt. It's full of holes. At this point, honestly, it's like about 60% cotton and 40% just sentiment. I don't remember the last time I ever wore this t-shirt publicly. It no longer fits properly. At this point, if I'm being honest, it's less a t-shirt and more a hostage situation. It has this hold over me that I can't explain. Here's what I actually didn't understand for a really long time. This was never really about the t-shirt. I grew up seeing my mom preserve things. Old saris, pieces of art, family heirlooms. Because in my family, it was an unsaid thing that you never throw things. You always value them and treasure them. This was actually a value that I grew up with because my parents grew up with the same value. And if I actually traced it back, it came from people who built things up from very little. And somewhere along the way, I absorbed that same instinct, that same value of preserving things. Except when I actually moved out of my mom's house and into my own house, I realized I don't have unlimited shelf space. I was living in small rental apartments where my closet had no idea about my family values. Neither did it care for them. But despite the lack of space, there was still stuff I could not bring myself to actually let go of. I actually felt guilt. Like I was betraying the very value that raised me. Like I was letting go of a part of something that made me me. Turns out, there's an actual term for this in the research. It's called self-extension. It's the idea that our possessions aren't just objects, they are a part of how we understand who we are, which means letting go of something can genuinely feel like losing a part of yourself. And here's where this becomes a real ongoing cost. This guilt and self-extension doesn't just stay contained to a t-shirt, to one object. Before you know it, you start applying this I can't let this go instinct to more and more things in your home. Slowly, your home fills up with items you can no longer make a decision about. Truth is, every one of them is quietly occupying space, physical or mental. Let's add this to the ledger too. Let's call it guilt for the crime of changing. So now we have everything added up on the cost of clutter. It's a big, hefty bill. It's time to do something about it. Here's the biggest mindset shift you need to make to let go of the difficult things in your home. You don't have to choose between honoring where you came from and clearing your space. There's an actual science experiment that tells us exactly this. In 2017, researchers asked two set of people to donate things they were emotionally attached to, things that were hard to let go of. One group donated like you normally would. The other group was asked to photograph the item before donating it. That one small step of taking a photo first made people significantly more willing to let the item go. About a third more often. The reason was simple. Once the memory had a place to live in the photo, they didn't actually need the object itself to hold it for them. So that Pink Floyd t-shirt that I was finding hard to let go of didn't actually hold the value that my mother taught me. I did. That memory, that value lives inside of me. I was the photo in this case, and because I had the memory, the photo inside of me, I could finally let go of the object, the t-shirt. If you've got items in your home that you find hard to let go of, I've actually built a free tool for this. It's called Let It Go, and it lives inside my Trash Bag Therapy app. It'll first ask you a few gentle questions, no guilt, no pressure, and then it'll give you a clear way to figure out how to let go of the item that you're struggling with. If you feel like this is something you can actually use, the link for the free app and the guide is in the description. So now you know how much clutter is actually costing you every single day. But here's where most people get stuck. Once you've seen the bill, the next obvious question is, okay, so how do I start letting things go without turning into a complete minimalist, without just throwing things out, and without having a personality transplant? That's exactly what the next video is about right here. If it's not up yet, just hit subscribe and I'll see you when it is.